Hare Krishna. Welcome to another session of Bhagavad Gita as it is. We are in third chapter, Karma Yoga. This is the second part of the third chapter. In the last episode, we covered half of the third chapter, and now we are in the second part. Basically, in the third chapter, Arjuna is asking question regarding Karma Yoga. Therefore, Lord Krishna speaks to him about that. In the second chapter, Lord Krishna had told Arjuna that stay away from all abominable action and take to Buddhi Yoga. Now, Arjuna interpreted it thinking that abominable action means war, and therefore he is confused. So he is asking Lord Krishna, you said that intelligence higher than work. So why do you want me to fight this war? I can just go and, be a Gyana yogi. So in reply to that, Lord Krishna says, Arjuna, you're a Kshatriya, and for you, the path of Nishkam Karma Yoga is the best. Why? Because for Jnana Yoga, or the path of intelligence, you are not qualified for that, because you have to be purified for that to receive jnana or divine knowledge. So that was one point. The other point is that from when you do the prescribed duty, which is ordained by the scriptures, and when you do that, you over a period of time you become purified. And after doing your prescribed duties, when you become purified, then you are eligible to receive the knowledge. Not now. Because what happens is that when you are doing your prescribed duty, you develop detachment and you develop desirelessness. Because a person who has desire cannot be eligible for Jnana Yoga. Arjun certainly had desires, because one desire he had was that he didn't want to see his family killed. So he had an attachment to his family. He was not detached. He had desires. Therefore, he was not the right candidate for Jnana Yoga. Therefore, for Arjuna, the path of Karma Yoga, or rather Nishkam Karma Yoga, is the best. And then in the next session, which is this session, Lord Krishna says, you know what, even if you are completely detached, even if you are completely desireless and full of knowledge, even then you should still follow the path of Nishkam Karma Yoga. Why? Because to set a good example for others. When a great person does something, everybody imitates them. And that's what a leader is. A leader does something and everybody follows the leader. Therefore, to set a good example, Arjuna, you even if you are completely detached, completely desireless, full of knowledge, even then you follow your prescribed duty and do your karma. You're a Kshatriya, therefore your karma is to fight the war. And Lord Krishna gives an example of King Janaka, father of Mother Sita, who was in the platform of Jnana. He didn't have to do his prescribed duties. He was beyond that. Still, he did his prescribed duty to teach others, to set an example for others. An analogy in this could be, suppose you are you're going to college, you attend the classes, then you sit for exam, you write the exam, and then you get your certificate, right? Your degree certificate. Once you get your degree certificate, do you go back to the college, attend the class, sit for exam? No, you don't, because once you got the certificate, you have crossed that path, that level. Now you have moved on. But Krishna says here, once you get the certificate, again you go back and sit in the class, attend the lecture, sit for exam. Why? to set an example for others. I mean, this is just an analogy, an example, but that's the gist of this. And finally, in this section, Lord Krishna talks about lust, how to overcome this most dangerous enemy. So let's get started with chapter 3, Karma Yoga. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So this is the section-wise breakup of the third chapter, Karma Yoga of Bhagavad Gita. We are in section number 4 from verse 3.17 to 3.35. Nearly 20 verses, and this mainly talks about Nishkam Karma Yoga and to set the correct example for people. Dutifully acting without attachment sets the correct example for others who are less advanced. This whole chapter can be looked at like this. It starts with Arjuna's question. The first two verses is Arjuna's confusion and question whether he should renounce or he should be engaged in action. In reply to that, Lord Krishna mainly speaks about 3 different themes. From verse 3 to 16, Lord Krishna proposes that Jnana Yoga or renunciation is difficult. And especially for Arjuna, who's a warrior, the more appropriate path would be doing his prescribed duty or action, but with detachment. In other words, this is Nishkam Karma Yoga, which is the right path for Arjuna. And then Lord Krishna talks about how one has responsibility towards other entities. For example, we living entities, we are using a lot of free stuff, like we are getting air to breathe free of cost, we are getting sunlight free of cost, we are getting water, rains, the rivers are there, the vegetation is there, fruits, vegetables, grains, practically everything that we consume is given to us by nature free of cost. And we don't just take it free, we have some duty, some responsibility to reciprocate, to give back what we are consuming. And that brings us to the Karma Kanda section. And then from there, Lord Krishna goes on to speak about Karma Yoga. And then from verse 17 to 35, which is what this presentation is all about, Lord Krishna says, Arjuna, even if you are qualified for Jnana Yoga, you should still be doing your duty or Nishkam Karma Yoga just to set the right example to people. Now we move on to verse by verse analysis. Verse number 17. यस्त्वात्मरतिरेव स्यात् आत्मतृप्तश्च मानवः आत्मन्येवाच सन्तुष्टस्तस्य कार्यं न विद्यते. But for one who takes pleasure in self, whose human life is one of self-realization, and who is satisfied in the self only, fully satiated, for him there is no duty. Now this section, as I said, from 17 to 35 verse is about Nishkam Karma Yoga to set the right example. Here the verse number 17, 18 and 19, basically the theme for these 3 verses is that a self-realized soul need not work, yet he works. A self-realized person has no duty, but still he does his duty. The verse number 18. नैव तस्य कृतेनार्थो न कृतेनेह कश्चन न चास्य सर्वभूतेषु कश्चिदार्थाव्यपाश्रयः. A self-realized man has no purpose to fulfill in the discharge of his prescribed duties, nor has he any reason not to perform such work, nor has he any need to depend on any other living being. So this is the platform of a truly self-realized person. He is in the platform of detachment, desirelessness, and full of knowledge. Therefore, he has no duty to perform. Verse number 19. Tasmadasakta satatam karyam karma samachara asakto hyacharan karma param apnoti purushaha. Therefore, without being attached to the fruits of activities, one should act as a matter of duty, for by working without attachment, one attains the supreme. A self-realized person has no obligation to do anything. He has no taste for material pleasures. He has no purpose or gain in doing work. He has no reason for not doing work. And he has no need to depend on anybody. Now from verse 20 to 24, Lord Krishna speaks about how one has to work. Even though one is not obligated to work, still one should work to set the right example. And he gives the example of the great king Janaka, who was father of Mother Sita. कर्मण्येव हि संसिद्धिम् आस्थिता जनकादयः लोकसङ्ग्राहमेवापि सम्पश्यन् कर्तुमर्हसि. Kings such as Janaka attained perfection solely by performance of prescribed duties. Therefore, just for the sake of educating the people in general, you should perform your work. यद्यद् आचरति श्रेष्ठस्तत्तदेवेतरो जनः स यत्प्रमाणं कुरुते लोकस्तद् अनुवर्तते. Whatever action a great man performs, common men follow, and whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. So this verse speaks about how common men follow a great person. So it's a big responsibility on the shoulders of leaders to exemplify the right action. Verse number 3.22. न मे पार्थास्ति कर्तव्यं त्रिषु लोकेषु किंचन नानवाप्तमवाप्तव्यं वर्त एव च कर्मणि. O son of Pritha, there is no work prescribed for me within all the three planetary systems, nor am I in want of anything, nor have I a need to obtain anything, and yet I am engaged in prescribed duties. Here, Lord Krishna gives his own example. After he spoke about the example of King Janaka, Lord Krishna says, look at me. I don't have any need to do anything. Of course, Lord Krishna is a supreme Lord. But still, in order to set the right example for others, Lord Krishna is doing duty. And not just the duty, he is doing even the most menial duty. He is acting as a servant of Arjuna. He is acting as a charioteer. He acted as a messenger for the Pandavas. So Lord Krishna is doing these duties even though he does not have to. And the reason is to set the right example. If God is an ocean of bliss, why does he perform action? Lord Krishna clarifies his point, saying that if I ever fail to engage in carefully performing prescribed duty, O Partha, certainly all men would follow my path. Yadi hyaham na varteyam jatu karmanyatandritaha mama vartamanu vartante manushya partha sarvashaha. उत्सीदेयुरिमे लोका न कुर्यां कर्म चेदहम् संकरस्य च कर्ता स्याम् उपहन्याम् ima praja. If I do not perform prescribed duties, all these worlds would be put to ruination. I would be the cause of creating unwanted population, and I would thereby destroy the peace of all living beings. Remember, in the first chapter, Arjuna had mentioned about unwanted progeny. Arjuna said that if he fights in the war, that will result in a lot of death of men folk, and therefore the women would get polluted, and therefore unwanted progeny will rise. So Krishna is countering that argument, saying that if I do not do my duty, that's when there would be chaos in the society and unwanted progeny would be the result. The lawmaker is beyond law, and Krishna, being the lawmaker, is beyond the law. But still, just to show as a right example, he is performing his duty. And another point that we need to understand here is following versus imitating. We are not meant to imitate great people. Lord Krishna lifted the Govardhan hill for 7 days and 7 nights. Is it possible for us to do it? Of course not. So we should not try to imitate. Lord Krishna performed the rasa dance with thousands and thousands of gopis, all multiplying himself. Can we do that? No, we cannot. So we should not imitate great people. Lord Shiva drank the halal poison. Can we do it? No, we cannot. So the point here is we should not imitate great people, but we should follow their instructions. Even a person in the platform of jnana should work. The platform of jnana is a high platform. To be in that position, one needs to be completely 100% purified. And that happens after complete detachment and desirelessness. Even such a person should perform his duty to set the right example. So here the focus is that we all have a responsibility towards a society. We should not be living a selfish life where we just think about our own spiritual progress. We have a duty towards our fellow human beings, and we need to do the right action to teach them by example. When we work with detachment, we will not be in the cycle of birth and death, or in the bondage with action and reaction. One needs to act without attachment to set the right example. Sakta karmanya vidvamso yatha kurvanti bharata kuryad vidvams tatha saktas chikirshu loka sangraham. As the ignorant perform their duties with attachment to the results, the learned may similarly act, but without attachment, for the sake of leading people on the right path. Now in verse number 26 and 29, the theme is that the wise should not disturb the ignorant. Na buddhi bhedam janayet ajnanam karma sangina जोषयेत् सर्वकर्माणि विद्वान् युक्तः समाचरन् प्रकृतेर्गुणसम्मूढा सजन्ते गुणकर्मसु तान् अकृत्स्नविदो मन्दान् कृत्स्नविन्ना विचालयेत् so as not to disturb the minds of ignorant men attached to the fruitive results of prescribed duties, a learned person should not induce them to stop work. Rather, by working in the spirit of devotion, he should engage them in all sorts of activities for the gradual development of Krishna consciousness. Bewildered by the modes of material nature, the ignorant fully engage themselves in material activities and become attached, but the wise should not unsettle them. Although these duties are inferior due to the performer's lack of knowledge. Here, to make this point more clear, let me give you an example. For example, a Vaishnava or a devotee need not um, break the illusion of the ignorant people. The karmis or the ignorant people are in their bubble of material desires and they go about doing their work for sense gratification day in, day out. They're chasing material pleasures. And a devotee of the Lord knows that they are on the wrong path. But he should not bluntly burst their material bubble. Rather, he can very diplomatically engage them in some small seva. For example, you can tell a karmi friend, hey, can you get me some flowers today? And use that flower that she or he gets to offer to the Lord. Or you can tell them, can you please clean this vessel for me? And when your friend cleans a vessel, you can use that clean vessel to offer bhoga to the Lord. So indirectly, you can give them some small seva so that they gradually, when they do seva, uh, indirectly to the Lord without actually conscious that they're doing seva, slowly Lord will bestow his mercy upon them and slowly they will be inclined towards bhakti. Directly, if you tell them, hey, you're on the wrong path, you're ignorant, you're doing the wrong thing, they will resist. So indirectly and diplomatically, you can slowly engage them in Lord's service. Thereby, they will get Lord's mercy and thereby they come into devotion. In this regard, Srila Prabhupada has said that devotees of the Lord are even more compassionate than Lord himself because they know what Lord really wants. Lord Krishna wants all of his children to come back to him. So even though Krishna in these two verses tell us that don't disturb the ignorant, but devotees still go out of their way and preach to them. Verse 3.27. The ignorant person thinks himself the doer. The spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself to be the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashah ahankara vimudhatma karta aham iti manyate. The vimudhatma, the foolish atma, the foolish living entity thinks, karta aham, I am the doer. Iti manyate, he thinks, I am the doer. When in reality, it's the three modes. As you can see in the picture, the three modes, material nature, rajas, tamas, and sattvagun, is influencing the person to do certain things. 3.28. How do we know that we are spiritually growing? One who is in knowledge of the absolute truth, almighty armed, does not engage himself in the senses and sense gratification, knowing well the differences between work in devotion and work for fruited results. Tattva Tattvavittu mahabaho guna karma vibhagayoho guna guneshu vartanta iti matva na sajjate. Outwardly, both the work in devotion and work for fruitive result may look the same. One person is cooking for his sense enjoyment and the other person is cooking for the Lord. So outwardly, both seem to be doing the same activity. But there's a world of difference between them. So one who is truly in knowledge knows and does not engage in sense gratificatory work. Now, in verse 30, 31, and 32, Lord Krishna says what is the result of working for him, what is the benefit, and what is the disadvantage if we don't follow his teachings. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasyaadhyatmacetasa nirashir nirmamo bhutva yuddhasva vikatajvara. Working for the Lord, therefore, O Arjuna, surrendering all your works unto me, with full knowledge of me, without desire for profit, with no claims to proprietorship, and free from lethargy, fight. The words nirashir, without desires, nirmamo, without any claims to proprietorship, aham mameti, these two words are very significant. And an example is given here of a cashier in a bank. A cashier counts millions of notes every day in the bank. But does he desire it? No, he doesn't. He just does it as a part of his duty. He does not think that those notes that he's counting belong to him. And he does not desire them. He just counts the notes as a duty. That should be our attitude in the material world. We can use everything that Lord provides us, but deep inside we should know that we are like that bank cashier. We are just using these things for the service of the Lord. We don't have any claim over it. What is the result of following Lord's teachings? Ye me matamidam nityam anutishtanti manavaha Shraddhavanto na suyanto muchyante tepi karmabhi. Those persons who execute their duties according to my injunctions and who follow these teachings faithfully without envy become free from the bondage of fruitive actions. And what happens when you disregard Lord Krishna's teachings? Ye tve tabhyasuyanto nanutishtanti me matam sarvajnana vimudham stan vidhi nashtan achetasa. But those who out of envy disregard these teachings and do not follow them regularly are to be considered bereft of all knowledge, befooled, and ruined in their endeavors for perfection. Now we come to the last section of this presentation, the verse number 33, 34, and 35, where Lord Krishna focuses on telling Arjuna that he should understand his own innate nature and then work according to his nature than imitating others. Now, in this regard, I would like to add that Jnana Yoga is good for a person who is in a pure platform. Or, in other words, a pure-hearted person can be purified by Jnana Yoga. To receive the divine transcendental knowledge, one has to be pure. And then when one receives that jnana, he is in the topmost pure platform. But if the person has impurities in the heart, that person is suitable for Nishkam Karma Yoga. By slowly doing Nishkam Karma Yoga, the person gets purified from inside, and then he will become eligible to receive the jnana. Now, what if that person is extremely impure? An extremely impure-hearted person can be only purified by Bhakti Yoga. And how will he get in Bhakti Yoga? By the causeless mercy of the Lord, or by the causeless mercy of the Lord's pure devotees. In other words, Bhakti Yoga is the supreme most yoga, which can purify even the most evil person. But how does one get into Bhakti Yoga? That is only through the causeless mercy of the Lord or his pure devotees. For example, we have come, or we are attempting to practice Bhakti Yoga because of Srila Prabhupada's causeless mercy. Srila Prabhupada, through his books, have given his mercy to us. Therefore, we have access to practice Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is the most powerful yoga, more than Jnana Yoga, more than Nishkam Karma Yoga, because those two have limitations. In the verse 33, Lord says, even a man of knowledge acts according to his nature, for everyone follows the nature he has acquired from the three modes. What can repression accomplish? Sadrisham cheshtate swasyaha prakrite jnanavanapi prakritim yanti bhutani nigraha kim karishyati. इन्द्रियस्येन्द्रियस्यार्थे रागद्वेषो व्यवस्थितौ तयोर्नवशमागच्छेत् तौ ह्यस्य परिपन्थिनौ. There are principles to regulate attachment and aversion pertaining to the senses and their objects. One should not come under the control of such attachment and aversion, because they are stumbling blocks on the path. And final verse for this session, 3.35. Do your duty, do not imitate others. Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha paradharmat swanushtitat swadharme nidanam shreyah paradharmo bhavyavaha. It is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, even though faultily, than another's duties perfectly. Distraction in the course of performing one's own duty is better than engaging in another's duty, for to follow another's path is dangerous. This is with regards to Arjuna's proposition earlier that he would live by begging than be engaged in a war. Now, Arjuna is a warrior by birth and by karma and by guna. He is 100% warrior, and his moral duty is to be engaged in the righteous war. But because of some confusion and delusion, Arjuna opted to live by begging. But begging is the option for Brahmanas, not for Kshatriyas. Therefore, Lord is telling Arjuna, it's better to die doing one's duty, or it's better to perform one's duty even imperfectly than follow another person's duty. So, with that, we come to the end of this section.